it looked like they were there and really didn't want to be there saying this stuff. So that was extraordinarily cringeworthy, to the point that it's almost worth going to the theater just to see that. Hey, this is the Sword and the Pen Reflections. It is my casual, chit-chatty alternative to my more formal channel, the Sword and the Pen, link up there. So I went and saw Dungeons & Dragons Hero Among Thieves with my brother-in-law. This is not a movie I would normally go and see. I love fantasy. I love epic fantasy. I like the idea of them turning Dungeons & Dragons into a movie. But yeah, I got from the trailers a very strong sense that this was very mainstream. It was the same type of humor that we have seen in all these big budget sci-fi fantasy movies that have come out. Well, mainly sci-fi, and I guess you can, okay, the Marvel and DC movies, they are considered fantasy, I believe. I just wasn't, nothing drew me to it. I just felt like it was going to be that. So I think going into this movie with low expectations probably contributed to my not being super disappointed by it. I was mildly entertained through the whole thing. And I thought it was mildly funny all the way through. I was never bored, with the exception of one moment that I thought went on too long. It was the CGI chase scene with the girl who morphs. But yeah, it just, it was an average movie with very bad CGI for today. So I'm gonna break it down a little bit, why I think it wasn't as good as it could have been. This could have been the new Pirates of the Caribbean, and it just wasn't. And I'm trying to think to myself, why is that? And I believe it has a few things contributing to this. So the first one is that the heart of the theme, which is found family and family coming together and staying together and fighting to be with each other, wasn't as potent, I think, as it could have been. It just wasn't, maybe I missed something, but I felt like it was just lightly touched on, and it could have been that the actors didn't quite sell it, or maybe the script just didn't allow for it. I'd have to watch it a second time to really pay attention to that kind of stuff. But yeah, that heart in the theme, just wasn't as strong, and you really want to do a good job with having a good potent theme, and when you have a brand new cast of characters. Like, we don't know any of these people, so we're supposed to attach to them. And found family is very relatable for a lot of audience members. So this would have been a good theme for them to really stick with. And so another way that I think that it wasn't potent was in the characters. So I liked all the characters. The only one I found even slightly boring, and mainly because she wasn't particularly funny in any way, was the morphing girl. All the characters had their little quirks and they had their role that they were playing, but it wasn't super, super strong, with the exception of the paladin. The paladin I think he nailed it. I think it was not too over the top, and it was entertaining. But he's basically playing the very straight-laced, honorable, always does everything, that's right. And they played that up like that he's the idealistic role model in everything. And when I look at the characters and which ones I would have liked to have seen more potent, the one I think of most is Holga. Holga was my favorite character by far. I think she will be most people's favorite characters. To me, she had the potential to be Jane Cobb of this crew. Jane Cobb is from Firefly, if you're not sure who I'm referring to. He and Holga are the muscle of the crew. They do all the big, heavy fighting, and they can take a beating and give a beating, very good at that, but also kind of dumb. And I felt like they missed some opportunities to make Holga a lot more dumb, not super, super dumb, just a little bit more than, okay, I said a lot more, but I mean just a little bit more dumb than she was. I think she only had maybe 2 or 3 lines through the whole movie where she said something stupid. And it's the kind of stupidity that I can really appreciate, because it's not like she did something stupid. It's that you're wondering, where is her brain? Like, why did it go there? This is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to go into what all of that was. But she did have a couple of my favorite, my ha-ha moments. Oh yeah, okay, so when we go to meet her husband, or her ex-husband, I would have loved it if before that moment we had really played up that she felt like she had the best relationship with her husband before, that it was this, she was madly in love with him and she always talks up like how great he was, and you know, she's kind of hoping that things might eventually patch up between the two of them. And we can see the bard roll his eyes or make comments and things, and then these sort of comments would, when we get the reveal of the husband, would have seemed much more funny. So there was potency in the humor missing there as well. As far as the humor goes, there were only 5 times where I laughed out loud. And that's not good, because there were a lot of opportunities there and a lot of times that they tried to make us laugh, and I didn't find the jokes funny. And I can name those 5 points. I'm going to tell you which ones they are. So there was when Holga suggested turning into a deer. That I thought was funny. But again, I wasn't, busting a gut. I just went, haha. The next was the dragon and the chase scene. And that was the funniest part for me, for sure. And you know what? Actually, it was just a good, funny moment. I think that was just good. It's too bad that the CGI wasn't all that great, and it could have been better, but it was still very, very funny. The next one was the Paladin and the Rock. That was funny. It played into his character. But again, it was commenting on him. It was the comments that made it funny. So the bulging eye and the morphing bit, that was unexpected and funny. I thought it was visually comedic. And you know what? I think that's probably a type of humor that will last for a long time. So good job on that. And the final one was the potato at the very end. Again, all of these moments, yeah, they were funny and I laughed, but I wasn't like going, oh my gosh, I have to tell other people about this joke. I just went like, that was charming and funny, and I did laugh. But yeah, nothing that made me seriously die in laughter, and maybe you weren't supposed to, but I felt like there was better humor in even the first Pirates of the Caribbean. And I keep making this comparison in my head to Pirates of the Caribbean because that's what this had the potential to be, is the new Pirates of the Caribbean, except fantasy. Well, I guess Pirates of the Caribbean is fantasy, but you know what I mean. So the CGI was not great. The CGI was distractingly bad through most of it. So I would have liked to have seen better CGI, or maybe less CGI. I'm sure that there were some tricks that they could have used to not have to use it in certain situations. The chase scene with the morphing girl could have been way shorter, so that was maybe the only moment I was bored, but I think I might have already mentioned that. Another reason you might want to go to the theater to see this, and you will only see this in theater, you won't be able to see it at home. At the very beginning of the movie, all the actors in the cast, well, the main cast, they're sitting in these chairs facing you, the audience, and they are reciting one at a time a thank you to the audience for being heroes and supporting the movie by coming to the theater in person to see this movie. And I actually usually like this sort of humility and gratitude on the parts of the actors, but this was so bad. This was cringe bad. It was painful to watch this. I mean, the first thing I did was lean over to my brother-in-law, like, were you dying inside that whole time? And like, yeah, it was awful. It was as if these actors, they were like the kid who was just yelled at by mom, and mom saying, no, you are gonna go out there and you are going to thank your audience for being heroes, taking the time to support you and your hobbies. You will absolutely sit out there. I don't care what you think. You're gonna sit there and you are gonna do it and you are gonna like it. That's what it looked like was going on. It looked like they were there and really didn't want to be there saying this stuff. So that was extraordinarily cringeworthy, to the point that it's almost worth going to the theater just to see that. So I would not go see this in movie theaters. I would not count this in my top 50, maybe even in my top 100 fantasy movies. It was not anything particularly special. However, it was, if you're very bored on a Saturday afternoon, to pay $2 to watch it on Netflix or HBO or I don't know. Gosh, $2. No, they're probably more expensive now. But you know what I mean. To just get it on a streaming service, that's where I think you'll have just as much fun watching it there as you would at the theater, and the theater's way more expensive. Gosh, is it? I think some of these movies, renting them is pretty expensive. But So yeah, let me know what you thought. Did you think that it was a hit and I missed some jokes? Did you feel the same way as I did about the potency of the characters and the themes? Is there anything that you can point out that you felt like was really missing? Oh, I didn't mention. I also think that there was maybe a little too much story. You know what they could have done is they could have just shortened this movie a little bit, and I think it would have been fine. I don't know how long it was. It didn't feel super long because there was always something happening and there was a lot of things happening, but it did feel meandering. It felt like we had a lot of side quests, you know, go and acquire this object so that you can do this thing that'll let you get this other object that will let you come back and do this other thing that will let you get to do another thing, and then you can do the main thing, which is, you know, rescue the girl and steal the other object. So it felt, yeah, it felt not meandering, it felt like side questy. So you could have shortened it, had fewer side quests, maybe crunch some of your humor all together. And I think I might have liked to have seen the paladin go with them on this journey. Not sure why he didn't, but anyway, I hope that this review was helpful for you in deciding if you're going to go and see it. If not, I did my best. In the meantime, I would be grateful if you would like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, as it really helps with the algorithm. And if you're feeling really super generous for some reason, go ahead and check out my Ko-fi or my Patreon. I prefer Ko-fi because they do not take a percentage of anything that you donate, which is awesome. Yeah, until next time, be good to yourself.